If you want to support the show, the best way you can is through any of the books or current ongoing Vela shorts that are being released on a regular basis. The easiest way to find this is to go to bit.ly/tmrbooks, and you'll have links there to everything. All of my Kindle books are available for free. If you have Kindle Unlimited, you don't have to pay anything. You get it with your subscription. You can read them all. They're all in screenplay format. That includes Swan Song, The Muses, Duet, In the End, Our Past Does Not Define Us. Anything else that I've written that's available on Kindle, it's available there. You can buy a soft cover if you want. There's a hardcover collection of all of the Swan Song books, all combined into one. That's available as a hardcover. You can pre-order Echo Alpha, which is coming out in November. All of these things are available if you go on Amazon. But quick link, if you go bit.ly/tmrbooks, I have them all there, nice, easily cataloged. Also, down toward the bottom, we have the Kindle Vela content. The first 3 episodes are always free, and then after that, there's a token system that you can use to read. Even if you don't like it, just give it a thumbs up. That way we can get it up higher so more people see it. So one final time, that's bit.ly/tmrbooks, and every Wednesday there's a new Vela book that goes up. Taser and Acrobat, Nanite and Rosebud, Tales from Another World, and The Alchemist and the Illusionist. All go up on Wednesdays, and it's all available on Kindle Vela. All of this is available bit.ly/tmrbooks. Sorry to overload the front, but before we start, one final thing. If you can please go on Apple Podcasts, if that's how you listen, and give us a 5-star rating, that would mean a lot. We're trying to get on to Rotten Tomatoes and sites like that, and we need to get more reviews to be accepted. So if you can go on and give us a 5-star review there, that would be amazing. Thank you very much. We appreciate everything you guys do when you listen. This week on 30-Minute Reviews, delays. We know why New Gods got canceled. Release dates for Pinocchio, Miss Marvel, and Andor. And we're going to talk about Pikmin Bloom, as well as a listener question. All this week on 30-Minute Reviews. Welcome to 30-Minute Reviews. I am Adam. So let's just get rid of some of the other things before we dive into some of the deeper topics. So let's start out with The Eternals. We had their opening box office. The movie came out. I loved it. If you want to hear my thoughts on it, you can go to Beware of Spoilers. I did a review there on my way home from seeing the movie because I was tired. Very good movie. Definitely worth seeing, despite what other reviews have said. If you're looking for a ponderous look at Marvel, if you want Marvel to take the approach, a filmmaker-driven approach where they let the filmmaker do what they want, independent of the universe, then definitely a movie for you. If you had a problem with what they did to Edgar Wright, this is the movie for you. It opened to $71 million, which is not great. It's the lowest Marvel entry of the pandemic era, where it's, Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and then this one's the lowest. Shang-Chi was slightly better, but it had a 4-day weekend. I don't remember the exact number, but it did $71 million. I mean, it did more than Thor and did more than Captain America, and I know it's, accounting for inflation, that was 10 years ago, but, it's going to get a sequel. It seems like this is kind of going to be an integral part to the MCU going forward because of how it deeply dives into the semantic work of what the Celestials do and all of that. So, $71 million, not great. I think the production budget was close to $200. It'll turn a profit, I feel. Plus, it'll be a driver for Disney Plus subscriptions. But I don't know. It's definitely worth seeing. So $71 million was the opening weekend. It'll probably take the weekend this week too, because this weekend is pretty light. I think Belfast is the only movie that's new coming out. Shang-Chi is going to Disney Plus, as is Home Sweet Home Alone, but, we'll see where that goes. So we have that. We also have a little bit of news about Black Panther 2. Now, Black Panther 2 was supposed to come out in July, if I remember correctly, of last year. Then, a few weeks back, Marvel reshuffled their entire release schedule because production delays were happening. Really what ended up happening was I think that they've kind of hit a wall at this point where it's like we can't delay anything else or reshuffle the schedule in any way because it's kind of a serialized story. I've likened it to television where it's like, Sweeps Week and the season finale of the Avengers, and that's how it kind of goes. And you can't really reshuffle the order of episodes because it's kind of serialized in that regard, and you can't reshuffle the episodes and have it make sense. Like, if you're watching, like, Season 5 of The Flash, you can't reshuffle the episodes around because it's integral to the story and which way it goes. So, they've gotten to a point now where they can't do it, and Multiverse of Madness was kind of marred by production issues. They lost their director, and they had to hire Sam Raimi, and then COVID happened, and they had COVID-related shutdowns, and then the movie picked back up, and they just wrapped filming on it, like, a few weeks ago, and it was slated to come out in March, and they've been hard at work on post-production work, but they weren't going to hit that deadline, so they pushed it back to May. That they'll be able to hit, and then they just kind of scooched everything down to adjust, with the exception of Guardians 3, which kept its release date in May. But Black Panther 2 has currently had its production shut down due to an injury by Letitia Wright. She got hurt a few weeks back, and they've been kind of shooting around it, shooting other people's scenes and all that kind of stuff. So that way production doesn't hit a complete standstill, but now they have to halt production completely while she recovers from this injury, and will be halted until 2022. Now, the Flash movie comes out a week before, opening opposite the David O. Russell movie next November. That movie wrapped the week after Fandom, so we're not quite a month removed from that movie being wrapped on principal photography, but it's done. Like, they're just doing post-production work on that movie now. I'm not an expert. I don't think that if they come back in January, and maybe they're just going to treat it as reshoots, and maybe that's how they'll do it. They'll treat the scene she hasn't shot yet as reshoots, which could lead to some roughness. But I don't think they're going to delay the movie again. If they do delay the movie again, it won't be swapping release dates. It'll just be pushed back by a few weeks, maybe into December. Well, no, that wouldn't even work, because if you push it back to December, that would be cannibalizing Avatar, and they wouldn't want to do that, because Avatar 2 comes out in December 2022. So I think maybe they push it back to the end of November, maybe make it their Thanksgiving movie next year. I don't know. But that's really the only thing I can think of, and how to make that work. More power to them. I hope it works out for them, but I can't guarantee that it's going to work. Okay, so the next big discussion I want to get into is the delay of Rogue Squadron. Now, yesterday or 2 days ago, my days are all blurring together, it was announced that the Rogue Squadron movie that was slated for release in 2023 has been indefinitely delayed by Disney. And not just has the movie been indefinitely delayed, but they pulled the Star Wars date from the release slate. Like, in 2023, where they would have pulled it and put Untitled Star Wars movie, there is nothing in that slot. That slot is now completely empty, and any movie can take that December 2023 spot, not specifically Star Wars. Like, any enterprising studio can put it on a movie. Maybe that's where Jumanji will end up. Maybe they'll throw a DC movie in there. Maybe they'll throw a Marvel movie there. Maybe they'll throw Blade or something. Who knows? But that's all, that's empty now. Now, the comment said that they're hoping to be able to continue with this movie once Patty Jenkins fulfills her pre-existing commitments. And it seems her pre-existing commitment is Wonder Woman 3, which was announced to be in full active development at at DC Fandom. Linda Carter coming back, Gal Gadot coming back, and they're just going with that, and that's full steam ahead. That's happening. So I can see that this movie is being delayed over that. I get that. What I here's what my bigger, broader issue is. 2023 is the only, like, in 2023 there were two Lucasfilm properties being released. It was Indiana Jones 5, and that for sure was happening, and there also was Star Wars Rogue Squadron. Those were the two Lucasfilm properties coming out in 2023. Here's where this whole thing kind of gets murky. The other two dates that Lucasfilm has in the 2020s for the entire decade are December 2025 and December 2027. Those are two untitled Star Wars movies. Now, we know that our friend Taika Waititi is working on a Star Wars movie, and we know that Kevin Feige is in development on a Star Wars movie. This week, it was rumored that Chloe Zhao could be taking that. And last I heard, Chloe Zhao was doing a Blumhouse Dracula movie set in a science fiction Western setting, which sounds completely batshit, but I'm all on board for. And looking at what this, like, how does this work? I think that, Taika can take the 2025 or neither, but, like, what are they going to do? Start adding in additional dates, like, for Star Wars movies? And then this highlights a broader issue I have with Lucasfilm, where it's like they only have 3 movies or 4 movies in development total. They got 3 Star Wars movies and an Indiana Jones movie. That's it. Like, there is the Rian Johnson trilogy, which I don't think has been completely shit-canned. Like, I think it's still a thing, and it's still in, like, development. I don't think it's been completely canceled yet. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, and someone will, because bringing up Rian Johnson is never a good idea. But, last I heard, that trilogy was still in development. And now with rumors that Chloe Zhao is circling a director job on the Kevin Feige led Star Wars movie, and there are rumors it's going to be High Republic. That all sounds great. That sounds like a great mix of, period to director to producer to, IP. All sounds great. Ultimately, though, the other project that is in development at Lucasfilm is Children of Blood and Bone, which was previously optioned by Fox, I believe, and then it got canned out of Fox when Fox was bought by Disney and then realigned into Lucasfilm. And I think what Lucasfilm has to do is kind of become like an imprint to an extent that focuses on creating great science fiction content, great visionary science fiction content, and telling these stories. And this person I'm looking at in this parking lot's an asshole. It's a 2-lane road, and he's outside of a store in the fire zone on this 2-lane road, blocking one entire lane of traffic. But, they need to treat it like an imprint and be like, here are some of the best science fiction and fantasy books, on the market, video games and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to tell stories. And it's like, remake The Black Hole. I watched The Black Hole last year or 2 years ago at this point. It's all kind of blurring together. And it's a fantastic movie. And it's great. Move that over to Lucasfilm. There's a Tron movie coming. Move it to Lucasfilm. And if Disney doesn't want to do that because Disney wants to keep that, like, you can have Star Wars as this thing, and it can be a ratings driver for Disney Plus. But at the end of the day, it's like, at what point will we hit a saturation point with this? Where what's it called? At what point will we hit a saturation point where Disney Plus subscribers won't be adding any more subscribers for Star Wars TV shows because they've already hit the max. Like, there's no one else, there's no new Star Wars fan to be got. they have hit the line. Like, at what point does that happen? And then when that happens, what then for the studio? They need to start branching out. And Star Wars is great. And look, I'm looking forward to Andor. I'm looking forward to Ahsoka. I'm looking forward to Mandalorian. I'll begrudgingly watch Book of Boba Fett, but at some point, you need to branch out and do other things. So if I'm Lucasfilm, what I'm doing is I'm going out. I'm like, who can I option? What's going on out there that I can do as a story? Like, I'm going out. I'm sending someone to a fucking Barnes and Noble and looking through the YA section, YA fantasy and YA science fiction, and being like, what can I acquire? Like, what hasn't been optioned yet that I can do? I don't think The Unwanted has been optioned yet. Why don't you do that? That'd be a great thing for you to do. There was a YA kind of science fiction, like, fantasy story that I wrote, Counting Stars, which is, by Claudia Gray, if I remember correctly. She's already in the Lucasfilm system. She does some of the YA Star Wars novels. See if you can option that one. Like, oh no, Falling Stars may have been the Star Wars book. Like Becky Chambers has a series of science fiction. Bring those in. Like, I read Battlestar Suburbia, fantastic book with really interesting visual ideas. That would be good for Lucasfilm. Like, go to Ted Chiang. Like, I'm not saying it's gotta be a marketable franchise, but, like, even if they went and, like, okay, we're gonna go to, like, Ted Chiang's work and be like, okay, we're gonna option, like, what was the one that I really love? Life Cycles of Software Objects is one of my favorite shorts from Ted Chiang. Option that. Go out, option that, do that as a series, and Lucasfilm can do that on, like, it can be done. I would say probably Hulu more than Disney Plus because there's, like, oddities to it, but, like, that could be done. Like, you can do a theatrical version of Dizziness is the Anxiety of Freedom, which is a great short, and it's like you can be what Warner Brothers is in terms of, like, auteur filmmaking, which auteur theory is complete bullshit, where it's like, if you are a dictator on set, you're not doing your job as a director. Like, it's a collaborative filmmaking process. And here's the thing. If you're gonna do this and you're gonna be one of the tentpole franchises, like, Disney Animation doesn't put out if they put out one movie a year, that's enough. But, like, this year they have two. They have Encanto coming out in 2 weeks around Thanksgiving, and then they also have they had Raya and the Last Dragon earlier this year. Pixar had Luca, and that was it this year, but last year they had two. Next year they have at least two, if not three. They have Turning Red, and then they have Lightyear are both next year. Like, Lucas, and on top of it, it's like they're also doing Monsters at Work. They're doing a ton of other stuff too, not just that. And I think that for Lucasfilm to be like, oh, we'll put out a Star Wars TV show once a year, maybe twice a year, and then we might do a movie every few years, that feels like it's not going to bring in as much revenue as they need to. Because at the end of the day, how much money is being brought in from The Bad Batch? Like, how many subscribers did Disney Plus pick up from The Bad Batch? How many subscribers will they pick up from Book of Boba Fett? And then once they have those, how many are going to leave after Book of Boba Fett and then come back for Ahsoka? Or come back for Mandalorian Season 3? And I think that's a fundamental question that they're not really addressing at Lucasfilm. I think that's something that Lucasfilm really, really, really needs to work on. So I think that this is just highlighting that issue more than anything else. So next up, we're going to talk about, very briefly, Hogwarts Legacy is not coming until April 8th, 2022. Apparently that's a leaked release date based on a UK retailer. I don't know how accurate that is. That isn't always true. The next story is going to have a little bit of discussion. So for a while, it was in development that Tom King and Ava DuVernay were developing a New Gods movie, and this was canceled. Either I think it was earlier this year, and it was announced that it was going to be out of development. We have our first comments about why it was canceled from Ava DuVernay, and apparently, according to her, what happened was the Snyder Cut happened, and because the Snyder Cut happened, they didn't want to mix up the characters. Now, I have a problem with this, because fundamentally what this is they're canceling her movie, and the New Gods aren't nearly as what's it looking for, as like deep in the roster as, say, the Eternals, which is what Marvel was doing. Marvel has done. The Eternals is out now, and I mean, look, I'm only Belfast comes out this weekend, I might go see the Eternals again, because that movie is phenomenal. And I'm looking at, like, you know, these characters, like, yeah, people have a familiarity with Granny Goodness and with Darkseid and you know, to us with Desaad and, you know, Scott Free and Mr. Miracle and all these people, but you get a chance to tell a pretty unique story, because, like, to the general audience, you may have some people who remember them from the TV show, from Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, but it's not something that is particularly well known to the movie-going public at large. So you get the opportunity to do this in this really cool way, and really develop. And if there's anyone at DC who's equipped to do a New Gods movie, it's Tom King, because he's got an Eisner Award for his run on Mr. Miracle, and it's a fantastic book. And I think that, like, canceling hers for the Snyder Cut is indicative of a larger issue, where it's like we're going to dump, depending on reports, between 20 and 70 million into allowing Zack Snyder to finish out his movie, and we're going to cancel this other project that has the same characters because the other characters appear in passing in that movie. Like yeah, like Darkseid's there, and even like younger Darkseid as Zoaxis is there too, and it's like, yeah, you get that scene with Granny Goodness, and Desaad has kind of the same role as that motherfucker from the Avengers, and Steppenwolf is there, and all of that. Like, it doesn't seem like a deep enough thing where it's like, okay, we gotta shit can everything. And if that is the case, it's kind of like, what's going on at Warner Brothers is the question I have, where it's like, you're gonna abandon this project entirely, and maybe, you know, Eternals is gonna turn the tide. Eternals is doing moderately okay, and maybe that will turn the tide and let it happen. But I feel like if we're gonna cancel this movie because the Snyder Cut already used the characters, like, The Flash is on season 8, and admittedly the show will be ending after the season in all likelihood. I think it's been announced that this is the last season of The Flash. Like, this show, between the announcement of the Flash movie and the end of the Flash and the release of the Flash movie, will have done 8 seasons. Like, that's a thing. There are 5 iterations of Batman currently in active duty across DC properties. Like, there are 2 Supermen. Like, Supergirl just ended yesterday, but there's another Supergirl there. For the New Gods to not be able to handle a cameo there and then a new movie, it feels like it's a pretty messed up thing for them to do that, if this is accurate. This is her account of what happened, and I have no reason to believe that she's lying, but if this is the case, it seems kind of messed up for them to do. A news story that broke right before I went on, and it's possible that other news broke, but I will cover that this Saturday or Sunday when I do the Disney Plus Day special for Equal Time, like I did for DC Fandom. There are 3 broad release windows announced. Pinocchio, the live-action Pinocchio remake, Miss Marvel, the live-action Marvel Studios TV show on Disney Plus, and Andor, the prequel series to Rogue One about Captain Cassian Andor, are all confirmed for Q4 of 2022. This puts it between July and September of 2022 because Disney's fiscal calendar is a little bit wonky because it doesn't line up perfectly with January to December. So we're just out of we're in Q1 now. That was just announced. Let me see, what else? Do I have anything else that I missed? Okay, so let's talk about the leaks from No Way Home. So, spoiler warning. So, here's the thing about the No Way Home leaks. Ordinarily, I wouldn't comment on leaks, but at this point, due to how little the marketing has been on No Way Home, I'm convinced that the leaks are orchestrated as part of the marketing. Let's look back at, everything that's happened this year at Marvel Studios and how little has gotten out prior to No Way Home. We didn't know that Sophia DiMartino was playing Lady Loki. I think it was just assumed she was playing Enchantress, which it's kind of interchangeable if you watch the show. But, Kang appears in the finale of Loki, and that didn't leak. The pictures of both Sam in full Captain America regalia and Wanda in full Scarlet Witch regalia didn't leak until the episodes happened. Shang-Chi facing off against a deep Doctor Strange villain didn't leak until the release. And neither did, for that matter, Ben Kingsley's appearance in the movie. And that's a big deal. None of that leaked. And, the plot of the Eternals and the plot twist in Eternals didn't leak until the movie came out. And neither did the cameo at the end. And I'm not going to spoil that because it's too new. But there's a cameo at the end that is not who I said it was in the Beware of Spoilers review I did. That didn't leak. And the thing is, too, the other big cameo that was leaked weeks ago, that didn't leak until it was screened. So all of this kind of happens, and none of it ever leaks. Meanwhile, No Way Home just can't go 3 days without a leak. And I think that's kind of a big deal. Considering that, if Marvel doesn't want us to know something, we won't know it. They paid Michael Rooker to show up on set for Infinity War. Knowing full well that he died in Guardians 2, because if he didn't show up for set in Infinity War, it would have spoiled the fact that he died in Guardians 2. They go to great lengths to keep spoilers from getting out. And somehow, they keep having these pictures from set and things like that leak out about Spider-Man No Way Home. And it makes no sense. It makes no sense as to how this just keeps happening. And, they're just whatever. The latest leaks, there were leaks earlier this week that were or last week, and usually I don't comment, but at this point, it's gotten to a point where I'm this has to be marketing. This has to be marketing. There is no way that this is not marketing. Even look at the last Spider-Man movie and how secretive they were with that. And it's we didn't know that J. Jonah Jameson was reprising until we saw it in theaters. I'm sorry. J.K. Simmons was reprising as J. Jonah Jameson. We didn't know that until we were in the theater. We didn't know Ben Mendelsohn was in the movie until we saw it in the theater. We didn't know that guy from Iron Man was reprising until we saw it in the theater. These are all things that could have leaked and should have leaked if it was active and this was happening, but somehow this doesn't happen. And it's not, we can't even say, oh, it's a Sony thing because, Venom, there were no leaks of Venom or Let There Be Carnage, or there's been no leaks of Morbius, and there was no leaks of No Time to Die, which is also a Sony thing. I think it was maybe it was just distributed by Sony. But still, it's kind of weird that this can't go 2 days without, a picture of all 3 Spider-Man suits appearing on set. Come on. This is definitely a marketing thing, which is why now the latest thing, and the reason why I'm saying this is definitely a marketing thing, is a picture came out from the John Campea show. I think that's how they pronounce it. And this picture that came out is, first off, there's one of all three Spider-Man in costume together. Then the other one is the one I'm more interested in, because it's like, we kind of knew he was going to be in the movie because people keep asking him, and he kind of like started getting so beaten down. He's like, guys, please stop asking this. I can't tell you. I'll get fired. And it is a picture of Aunt May and Happy and Peter Parker sitting in the apartment with a certain lawyer from a Netflix show, that being Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock, in the scene. And here's the thing about this picture, is it, and this is the thing that kind of like encapsulated why this has to be marketing, is the picture isn't like a picture from set. It's like a picture off of a computer, like a picture of like a computer screen, and it feels like something where it's like, okay, can you here's something we want you to release. Just like put this out on your show, and it'll give you something to talk about, and we can do it there. So it at this point we're at the point where it's like, it's the worst kept secret in Hollywood. It's like Alfred Molina went out and did an interview. We're like, yeah, I'm in that movie, and it's like, oh, he released it. Oh no! And then like when they released the name, they made it seem like they were playing around with that idea that it was leaked. And it's like, it feels like, why pay a marketing person to put together a trailer when you can release stills, unfinished stills from set, and be like, oh, look what we found. And it's like, oh, look, Tobey Maguire's going to be here. And then everyone's going to show up to see, like, wait, did Tobey Maguire come back for the first time since 2007 to play Spider-Man again? Like, it'll be 15 years, because that movie came out the same year as Ratatouille, and that was 15 years ago. Well, no, 14, because, it's coming out in December. But, like, it's definitely a marketing ploy at this point, for this to keep happening. And I think that the reason is that it keeps you talking about this, and then there is something else coming in this movie that they don't want you to know about. And I think further what this tells is the rumor that Wilson Fisk will be appearing in Hawkeye gets a little more credibility. Because if Matt Murdock is appearing in No Way Home, then there's no reason why. What's it called? There's no reason why Wilson Fisk can't appear in Hawkeye, especially when, Fisk's daughter is the bad guy. And the thing that I keep thinking that's going to be the big reveal that they haven't quite touched on yet, I keep saying it's going to be Miles. Because Miles does exist in this universe, where it's like we talk about when he meets Prowler in Homecoming, Prowler says, "I got a nephew. I want to keep the streets safe for him." We don't know how old the nephew is, and if he didn't get snapped, he could be Miles Morales, as Spider-Man around Peter Parker's age, and that would be cool. I mean, there's all like, we're playing with the multiverse. There's no reason why, like, Professor X doesn't show up in this movie. There's no reason why Mr. Fantastic from the 2005 Fantastic Four movie doesn't show up in this movie. Like, we're playing with the multiverse already. And it's like Jamie Foxx, we know, is on set. Tom Holland accidentally dropped that in an interview. Like, we knew it. Like, that's the thing. It's like, it's all done so, like, oh no, I accidentally gave away information I wasn't supposed to. It's like, oh, shut up. Like, it's all just marketing at this point. Like, they're just playing with that. And it's like that picture that got put out for No Way Home with, like, all three Spider-Man on set. And then on top of it, Matt Murdock there. They're framed so perfectly that they look like production stills. That, like, the kind of thing that, like, they would put out before the movie comes out anyway, if this were any other movie. Like, it's that kind of thing. So, like, I think there's something bigger in the movie that they're trying to distract us and keep our attention from. It's either that, or they're just, like, this is what we're going to do instead of a trailer. We're going to release these things through sites and let it take its course and hope for the best. So that's it for the spoiler warning. And before we get into our review of Pikmin Bloom, which is the latest Niantic release, like Pokemon Go, I want to talk about a story that broke yesterday. I'm probably going to pronounce the name wrong. Weta Digital has been bought by Unity for $1.165 billion. This is big because this company, I'm not going to pronounce the name again, is the company that did the motion capture. They're a big motion capture company, Peter Jackson's motion capture company, that did the motion capture not just for Gollum in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, but also did the motion capture for the apes in Lord of the Rings. Now, if I understand this correctly, Unity you can download and use for free. Anyone can download Unity and use it. Once you make a certain amount of money, you got to pay to use it, but anyone can use Unity. If this is like Blender, where they're acquiring it and then it's being used by anyone, it seems like they're open sourcing this software, where anyone can use this and not have to pay extra, because it's like that. If that's the case, and I'm reading this right, that's huge for filmmakers and amateur filmmakers. Where now the only barrier to do motion capture for anyone who wants to get into motion capture and cinematic quality motion capture is the ability to get the tech. Like, anyone will be able to do it with Unity if they learn how to do it, and that's a big deal. If that's the case, I could be completely wrong, but either way, they're using it as part of their metaverse. They want to be the thing that people use to build metaverse on. Which Disney announced they were getting into metaverse today a little bit in their investor call, which is not surprising, but it's the kind of thing where it's like, why do D23 as an event that only those who can afford to fly there can, when we can do a virtual reality version too, and anyone who pays can go to it? Like, why wouldn't they get into that? So yeah, it's a cool kind of thing that's, that happened, and it feels worth noting. So our next thing is Pikmin Bloom. This is going to be quick because the game isn't exactly deep, and I played it for 2 days and deleted it, because it's not fun. And here's the thing about Niantic's other games after Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go, it appears, is an anomaly in terms of how fun it is and how long it's lasted and how well it works, where it's like last week or 2 weeks ago we talked about how Wizards Unite already is closing. It doesn't seem that Pokemon Go pulls $1 billion every year. I don't think that Pikmin Bloom is going to pull that much money. I think it's going to last longer, because I think that they're going to, Nintendo's going to be willing to put money into it to keep it running. But it's like, there's nothing fun about it. It's a walking thing, and you hatch Pikmin, and then your Pikmin follow you, and you plant flowers as you walk if you press a button, and it's just, there's nothing fun about the game that makes it worth playing. Like Pokemon Go, the idea of collecting Pokemon is the draw. And it's like, there's such a wide variety of Pokemon that it can sustain a game like this. The idea that Pikmin could also do that is kind of weird in a way. It doesn't make sense to me that, there isn't the collectible aspect of Pikmin. There's 6 different types of Pikmin in total. And then it's and there's no battling, there's no raiding, there's waiting. There's sending Pikmin out on expeditions and then waiting for them to come back. But that's not fun. That's just getting me to open the app again later. There's nothing about this that's really dragging you in and making you want to play it more. It's all right, you're going to tally my steps? Fine, tally my steps, and, we'll play that. But there's nothing about this game that really screams, I need to play this more. unlike, say, Pokemon Go, or even Wizards Unite, which Wizards Unite was very shitty. And I don't think Pikmin would work unless, Adventure Sync could come out for Pokemon Go. But I gotta say, not a fun game, not worth playing, in my humble opinion. And there's just not enough going for it. Like, at least, like, Niantic, when they made Wizards Unite, it was a carbon copy of Pokemon Go with different names and different skins and a slightly different gameplay mechanic. But, this isn't too deviated. It's deviated, but there's nothing added to the game to make it more interesting. Like both, like, Pokemon Go and Wizards Unite both had a capture thing where you would go and you would, catch the things. You catch confundables in Wizards Unite, Pokemon and Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go had Level Up, Pokemon Go had Evolve. That was not in Wizards Unite. But Wizards Unite had, like, if you catch enough of them, it will level it up and you would get more stuff, if I remember correctly. I haven't played it since I played it the first week. And then comes, like, that happens and that's cool. But then comes, what's the next one? And then there's raiding, which is, both of them had it. There was, like, the towers in Wizards Unite, where you would go to the tower, you would put in a stone, and you would battle things, and you would get stuff. And then, raids and gym battles in Pokemon Go. There is no equivalent to either of these things in Pikmin Bloom. The only thing there is the egg hatching and port key hatching, which is not fun. Like, that's not the part of Pokemon Go that anyone goes to Pokemon Go to do. And it's not like you have even the gacha box style, like, lottery of what's going to come out of it, like you do with the port keys and the eggs. It's, okay, here's a red seedling, plant the red seedling, in 1,000 steps you'll get a red Pikmin. Like, okay, cool. Like, and then you feed the Pikmin, they get little flowers, and you get more, more petals to plant more flowers, and I haven't found a need to, all it does is make the Pikmin hatch faster. Like, alright, cool, I guess, like, yeah, fun. Like, and then what happens is, if you don't check your expeditions before you go to work, like I didn't, like, what'll happen is, you'll have to send them on an expedition for 6 hours, so that they have to go and come back to, like, right around your house. And the Pikmin have to walk the entire distance. And it's kind of slated to real life, how long it takes them to walk that distance. It's just not fun. So maybe if Pikmin Bloom adds more features, maybe it'll be worth playing, but right now it's not. And we have 2 listener questions. Both of them are video game related. Number 1 was from someone named Mike, and it was a question about what video game franchise that's been dead or long dormant would you bring a new iteration to? And I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think if there's any video game franchise that I really loved that only got 2 installments, Mercenaries. And then Mercenaries 2 World in Flames. I think a third one would have been really cool. It's got this cool open world, fully destructible environment. It's so fun to play. And it's a shame that Mercenaries 2 has not gone to backward compatibility on the Xbox. Because that game I've played through, like, I played it on the PlayStation 3, I played it on the Xbox, and I had it for computer. It is so fun to play. That's one that I would definitely bring back. And the other question is, with multiverses coming, what characters would you put in multiverses, considering the characters that are already there? Let's see. So it's Warner Brothers. So it's the entirety of Warner Brothers' library. So let's say I know what's gonna end up there. It's gonna be Paul from Dune. Paul Atreides is gonna be there. Maybe Chaney too. That's cool and all, but I would do Leto II, the God Emperor. That would be my big pick. But that's not going to happen, because that's a pretty deep, pull from it. Unless they do, like... See, here's the thing, is that if there are alternate skins, like, they could do Mandy from Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy episode 3, which is a parody of God Emperor of Dune. And they can use that Halloween costume from Spirit Halloween of the President of the Sand Planet. So those are both, like, that's an option. Mad Max, I think he's already in the game. But who knows? Who else is there? I heard a rumor that LeBron James could be in the game. Let's see. More seriously, now Warner Brothers has Scooby-Doo, obviously, because Shaggy's in there. Maybe Jabberjaw. I believe they would have that too. Yogi Bear. Billy and Mandy would be a cool thing. Any of the characters from Codename Kids Next Door would be cool. And I feel like, what's it called? That would be, like, any of that would be cool. Like, dig into Cartoon Network's vast library of characters and just pull some out and say, we're going to put them in this fighting game. Like, Dexter would be cool from Dexter's Lab, or Dee Dee even. Like, and if you have Warner Brothers' deep bench of characters, you can, like, if Pennywise isn't in the game, I would be genuinely surprised. Like, I feel like Jack Torrance could be there. Like, that's a very valid option. Let's see, who else? Carrie Bradshaw from Sex and the City could be there. That would be cool. Tony Soprano. I'm just listing off HBO characters at this point. Whoever Bill Pullman played in Big Love, that'd be cool. Yeah, they have a pretty deep roster of characters they can pull from. And there was one other. Where is that other one? Here it is. Okay, so I did bench this one because I'd already answered it on a past episode. But I had a thought yesterday while I was at work that, of how I could expand this one. And I didn't put it on the list because I made the list yesterday before I had the thought. But the question is, with Netflix doing a Pokemon TV series, what story would you do? And looking at this, looking at the wide array of Pokemon stories that have happened over the years, there have been 25 years this has happened. And excluding just the mainline games, where it's like Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, Ruby, Sapphire. Like, to start with, if I have to do a mainline game, it'd be Ruby, Sapphire. Because those games I have played so much, and I have sunk, like, my copy of Ruby before it got reset had over 400 hours logged in that game over 10 years. And that game, I can go deep, I can go long, I can do anything in Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald. I can tell that story all day. If we're going non-mainline, and we're doing any story we want, like Hunt for Detective Pikachu wasn't any story from the movie, from the games or anything, I would go with Pokemon Coliseum. And let me tell you why. Because there's an interesting story to tell in a region where there are no wild Pokemon, and there are no routes to go through between them, and there's no Pokemon there, just a desert. And everything's kind of these little oases in this desert. The idea of shadow Pokemon, you can get a lot of mileage out of. And the thing that really caught my imagination as I was working is the raid. The raid's a very simple story. You gotta get from the bottom to the top of this building. What if we did that with Pokemon? And I was thinking, where could they do that with Pokemon? And it's like Battle Frontier. Well, that could be an option. And then there's also the idea that what if this is the way that they are isolating out the best and most powerful Pokemon to turn into shadow Pokemon, is to see who can get to the top of this tower, and then whoever gets to the top of the tower wins money, but no one ever wins the money because they have a shadow legend at the top of the tower. Maybe go with something beyond where they got in the game and do like shadow, like Giratina for that, or do multiple shadow legends in this tower, and expand beyond just the first 386 Pokemon. Like, there are plenty of avenues to go with this story. Because you can do an espionage kind of story with this guy who just escaped, and it's like, there are so many options to go with, and that's 100% the story I would tell, is Coliseum XD style. you know, doing that. That would be where I would go. Also, Ranger, I think, has a lot of opportunity for interesting storytelling, because it's anytime they deviate from the traditional format of 8 gyms, battle the 8 gyms, go about your day, it lends to greater opportunity in storytelling. And I think that, Ranger would be cool on the Switch, like independent of everything else. But if they did that and they went through this and it was kind of like, we're going to tell this story. You can also do a conservation story with Snap. And it's like, I think that's where they should go. If they're going to do a story and it's not going to be like retelling one of the generations, like you can do Generation 5, because Generation 5 is a it's, as opposed to the rest where it's like, like evil teams, it's like, Pokemon Mafia, and then it's like, we're going to increase the oceans by making it rain, therefore, like, the plot of Team Aqua is really fucking stupid, like, because it's like, we're going to summon this thing that makes it rain, and it's going to expand the oceans. It's like, okay, but where's that water coming from? And it's like, oh, shit, alright, like, unless it's like magic rain that just comes out of the sky out of nowhere, like, and then the idea where it's like, Groudon's gonna, like, the Groudon story would work, because it's like, okay, he's making it fully sunny, and it's going to, make all the water go away. Like, it's dumb pseudoscience, but it still kind of works a little bit better, but either way, it's stupid. But, and then you get to Gen 4, where it's like, I'm going to unleash the being of time and space so I can become a god and rebuild the universe in my image, which is literally the plot of Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. So when you play that game in 2 weeks, spoilers, it's batshit. It is complete batshit, the plot of those games. But, like, Generation 5 is kind of back to this, like, the idea of, are we enslaving Pokemon to make them battle? And it's like, should Pokemon, because they are sentient beings, be forced to do this? And then, like, that's what the battle between N and the protagonist is it's this idea of, like, morality, and that's where black and white comes from. It's morality is not black and white. So it's a cool thing. Like, I think that, like, if they went there, that'd be cool, but they're not going to. They would definitely go first and foremost with like, probably telling a more traditional story. Like, if anything, I think that you can get a lot of stylistic opportunity out of Gens 2 and 3. And then again, Coliseum XD, you can get a ton of stylistic choices out of those. And then we'll bring in Mirror B. Who plays JB Smoove as Mirror B? Call me Netflix. With that, we'll wrap up for today. One final announcement. I am pleased to say that Echo Alpha has wrapped, it has been formatted, it has been fully uploaded, and it is all set to go for the release date, which is Black Friday, which is November 26th. Very excited about this book. It is the story of what happens after the Muses, and it is leading into a truly, like, batshit crazy multiversal adventure for its sequel, and then then the end of the trilogy, leading into a fucking event. I'm so excited about this. You can pre-order it on Amazon. If you search Echo Omega, I'm assuming there's not too many other things with a similar title. It'll pop right up. Otherwise, if you go to bit.ly/TMR books, it's down there at the bottom. Next week's Alchemist and the Illusionist is a light tie-in, and it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that too. And then we have, we're going to be introducing a few more ongoings, for those of you who are interested. But we also have Taser and Acrobat just had episode 3. I believe that Nanite and Rosebud episode 3 is up now. And that's leading into an interesting kind of revenge thriller where it's like, Taser and Acrobat is a very simple, like, it's a comic book kind of, but in, serialized fiction format. where it's a little bit Spider-Man, a little bit Green Lantern, and then it's like cosmic shit happening all around. Night in Rosebud's a revenge thriller, where Dr. Griffin gets blown up and fused with a robotic suit. So she goes out to revenge to find out who was the one who put her there and who set up the thing to explode. And it's a an adventure like that. And this last week we introduced a character for the first time in these ongoing comics who's going to have a much bigger role going forward. If you've read the other stuff, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about when you read it. And then Alchemist and the Illusionist is magic. Like, need I say more? I think we're going to do a fantasy one. It's going to be the one I'm launching in December. That'll be the big launch in December. Maybe a cyberpunk one. And I'm teaching myself something in an effort to release something else. And that will be totally different from anything I've ever done in the past, and anything we've done on the podcast, anything we've done in the books. It'll feature familiar characters, but it'll be totally different in terms of format and release and what you can do with anything we've done before. So I'll keep you posted on that, and we'll be back next week. Well, actually, we'll be back Saturday, because Friday is Disney Plus Day, so Saturday we'll have the roundup of news from Disney Plus Day and the relevant trailers and all that kind of, I don't want to say bullshit, but bullshit. So, we'll be back with that then. Until then, have a great rest of your week. Do you like the show? Do you hate the show? Are you indifferent to the show? No matter what, you should probably let us know what we're doing so we can change it to better suit you, the listener's needs. You can go to either bit.ly/BOScontact, which is a contact form page you can use. Also, you can just email us directly at 30minutereviews@gmail.com. If you have questions that you would like us to answer, we can answer them on the air. We have a few questions every week that will be selected to be answered on air. So if you want to tell us what we should do, or if you have a suggestion for a movie or a TV show or something we should cover, go to bit.ly/BOScontact and also email us 30minutereviews@gmail.com.